and gentlemen, a good friend of mine has been involved in local comedy and pro wrestling. Please give a very warm welcome to the stage, Mr. Pete Sakaris!
How are you maniacs doing tonight?
Yeah!
Thanks for coming out, sporting local, I guess you could call this art, so far. But it's been a minute since I performed in Council Bluffs. I've been doing comedy in Omaha for about 10 years now. Oh, what the fuck?
Cut that man off! That's the tumbling portion of the evening.
Right? Okay. It's already going downhill, so I might as well just roll with it. But last time I performed in Council Bluffs was a place called Third Base Bar and Grill.
Yeah!
I walked in, and it was like a roast battle. It was like performing in a broom closet.
Yeah.
The building was like 6 by 6 by 6, so claustrophobia was acting up. But anyway, let me tell you a little about myself. The world will soon celebrate Cerebral Palsy Awareness Day, and I have cerebral palsy, so I'm very aware of it. It's a brain disorder that affects the muscles. It affects my hand gestures, like I can't tell someone peace without looking all alien-like, and I can't flip someone off without looking like I'm gonna stab them. It affected me socially too, like you probably had a cool nickname on the playground like Big Bad Tony or Knuckles. Mine was Helmet Boy. It affected my posture, and still does, but I'm no slouch. Glad you guys are with me on that one. And on the plus side, having cerebral palsy means that I never get offended when someone says, "Hey, what are you getting all bent out of shape for?" I'm like, oh, no reason, I was just born that way. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, but this one time, my friends made me take a shot of an unholy concoction known as Rumplemints, and it was disgusting. It tasted like Altoids and fascism. And I've never done drugs, so the only tripping I do is over my own feet. Glad you're with me on that one, too. You ever get reminders from the universe of where you're at in life? Like I was in the frozen pizza aisle recently. I picked out one and it said right on the box, and I'm not making this up, "I'm single." And I looked right at it and I said, "Me too, pizza, me too." But I am single. That's about the reaction that deserves. And a lot of factors went into my last breakup, but one of them had to be my OCD. Because my ex would be like, "Oh, when we finally do have sex, you're gonna be amazing. It's gonna be great. We're gonna do it like 7 times. And I was like, "Oh, that's an odd number." I love you to death, but can we just bump it up to 8? I went to a community college, so I guess you could say I reached for the sky's limit. Our mascot at the college was the Reavers. I went to Iowa Western. I found out that it was a type of pirate that got drunk, partied, and caused trouble everywhere they went. And I said, well, we're in college, so that makes a lot of sense. The college is in Council Bluffs, so that makes even more sense. And they sure did drink a lot of PBR. That was a stupid one, I'm glad you realized that. I don't do too many one-liners, so you're in for a treat. I had this thought recently. If someone says you have no ass, is that just another way of saying you have a bagaunt-a-gaunt? I fit that description to a T if you check me out from behind. Started a new job about 3 months ago, and I've been from job to job throughout the past 2 years or so. Like I worked for my dad part-time. I cleaned bathrooms at Walmart for a month, and I'm sure El Pollo Loco was trying to get a contract there, judging by the last segment. And I've worked in offices for most of my life, so I guess you could say I'm a real freak in the spreadsheets. Any wrestling fans in the house tonight? I am involved with local professional wrestling as a ring announcer, and a lot of these independent shows are a lot like local comedy or local performance art. Like, you do it because you love it, you do it because you're passionate about it, but sometimes you perform in front of a couple hundred people for maybe enough money to eat that night. And these independent wrestling shows are a trip. I've been on shows where the concession stand was literally a woman handing out gum. I've been on shows where the booming sound system was a microphone held up to a boombox. And I've been on shows where someone forgot the ring bell, so I actually had to go ding ding into the mic. And I'm still reeling off the adrenaline from performing in the middle of the woods by a river in Davenport, Iowa. Coincidentally, the name of the show was Deliverance. And you know you're doing a show in a small town when the bar across the street from the venue has a one-legged, one-man band doing AC/DC covers.
Yeah!
I'm a little disappointed he wasn't called Thunderstump, but what are you gonna do? That joke is brought to you by the progressive booming metropolis of Milo, Iowa, population 900. And I performed in Sioux City recently. Not a great looking group of folks. I mean, they were spitting tobacco, shooting guns, hitting their kids, and the men were even worse. Then I performed in O'Neill, Nebraska, and I didn't quite know it was a small town until the old ladies that were helping us with the venue said they were with the Board of Tourism or the Chamber of Commerce, depending on what day of the week it was. And I had to contact a chat support agent for something at work recently, and the issue was taking so long that the agent said to me, "Pete, you might want to grab a coffee or a snack because we might be here for a while." And I was like, oh no, they didn't suggest a Snickers. I think shit's about to get real. And it did. And one of my favorite things to do over the pandemic was grab all the Chinese fortunes I collected, and no matter what it said, just add "in bed" to the end of it. Like, one I had said, "You will be sought after for your diplomatic skills." So I changed it to, "You will be sought after for your diplomatic skills in bed." And that let me say stuff like, "Hey girl, let's me and you lay down, take off all our clothes, turn out the lights, and rectify these foreign trade agreements." And I'm gonna turn 36 next month. And it's not great, I'll tell you why. When 26-year-old me goes to get a massage from a hot chick, at the end of it he says stuff like, was it as good for you as it was for me? But 36-year-old me will probably go to get a massage from a hot chick, and at the end he'll be like, can you make it so that I won't have a copay next time? And my parents are very supportive of everything that I do, and one time my mom was dropping me off at my place, and she always tries to say the new trendy things that people are saying nowadays, and sometimes it just fails miserably. She turns to me and she goes, "So what's on your bucket list for tonight?" And I looked at her and I went, "Living through the night, Ma." I recently did something that everybody says I should do, and they were like, "Everybody's doing it. It feels really good when you do it, and it feels even better when you do it without anybody's help, by yourself." An hour and a half later, I'm laying on my living room floor, half naked, covered in sweat. I finally did this thing that feels good. It felt even better because I did it by myself without anybody helping me. I felt so accomplished, and in that moment I realized my taxes turned out fantastic. Anybody ever work in a call center or customer service? I worked in a call center for 12 years and still managed to maintain my sanity. And I found out pretty quick that you know you worked in a call center for way too long when a girl hugs you and the first thing out of your mouth is, "Thank you for holding me." It came in handy whenever I got into an argument because someone would be yelling at me, cussing up a storm, and I'd be like, "I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Please try again." But I knew I was in trouble when I had a girl in bed with me, and that's not the joke. Now, let's not kid ourselves. I'm fully vaxxed, sharp as a tack, and tasty like a snack. But out of nowhere, I just went, "Before we continue, I must advise you that for quality purposes, this sex may be monitored or recorded." You ever wake up on a long road trip and wonder if you're home or not? I was on that double shot for O'Neill and Sioux City, and I just woke up after a couple hours. I was like, "Oh, are we back in Nebraska yet? Are we back in Nebraska?" And I just wasn't sure until we stopped at a gas station and I saw a guy out front snorting the shavings off of a scratch off. And I was like, "Well, we're back in Nebraska, that's for sure." I'll end on this. Going back to the wrestling thing, I'm so passionate about it that I've come to terms with the fact that a lot of great wrestlers could never be anything else. They could only be wrestlers, depending on who you're talking about. Like Macho Man Randy Savage could never put away the boots and the tights, retire from the ring, and become, I don't know, a marriage counselor. Like, imagine that interview. He'd be like, "Yeah, both of you seem like wonderful, interesting people because I've read your profiles, but I'm thinking, and I gotta tell you something. Infidelity and dishonesty can put an elbow drop on even the happiest of marriages. But as long as she is honest with you about how she feels, and you are honest with her about how you feel, you will be the World Heavyweight Tag Team Champions of this life, because all that remains will be the love. Oh, yeah!" Take it no shit, give it no fucks. I'm Pete Sakaris. Thanks very much.